joining us today for Master Coaches Wednesday Weekly Buzz and our after show Buzz Reaction. I'm Ruth Nelson, joined by Hall of Famers Mick Haley, Bob Bertucci, and Brian Gimolero, bringing you the most current issues and trends in volleyball. Our weekly news show has leaders in our sport provide their perspective on their questions that are asked, along with the discussion on topics that are current and ones that are affecting all of us. Want to make a difference? Please remember to renew your AVCA membership. This one organization that represents all coaches at all levels when lobbying for the changes that are needed in our sport. You can make a difference by registering at avca.org. Today, our guests will provide us their insight into the most recent Sunday selection of teams for the 2021 D1 Women's Volleyball Championships in Omaha beginning April 14th. Let's take a look at who made the top 16. 48 teams, 30 automatic and 18 at large. And at number 16, BYU. 15, Washington State. 14, Utah. 13, Penn State. And at your number 12, Baylor. And number 11, Louisville. And number 10, Oregon. Coming in at number 9, Ohio State. And number 8, Florida. Number 7, Purdue. Number 6, Washington. And rounding that off at number 5, Nebraska. Now here goes our top 4 seeds. Texas. Number 4. And our number 3, Minnesota. And coming in at number 2 is Kentucky. And rounding out at number 1 seed is Wisconsin. And there you have our top 16 seeds going into the NCAA championship. Now, let's head over to Austin, Texas with former Olympic coach Mick Haley. Will introduce our guest today. Mick?
Wow, after all of that, I don't know if I can. That was a lot of information, pretty good music. Angola High School. Oh, no, it was on Wisconsin. That's what that was. That was pretty interesting stuff there. I have to tell you, we have the greatest show today. We have 2 coaches that, in my opinion, have been flying under the radar here that are pretty amazing. And Bob, you're looking at this kind of like, what are you going to say? And I'm going to say that these 2 have 53 years of head coaching experience and over 1,200 wins. And what happened to us? Well, they're a lot younger than us. And Ruth, you've given stats of how many years we've coached and how many wins we have, and here we've got 2 that are really doing the job. First, JoJo Persico from St. John's University, 27th year this year, and going strong. Her team finished first in her division out there. That Big East Conference is pretty amazing because they have not only her school, St. John's, but Villanova, Creighton, UConn, Marquette, Xavier, DePaul, Butler, all in that conference. And they usually get 2 teams, if not 3 teams in the past. And with the tournament getting cut down this year, the committee only gave 1 team a position, and that was Creighton. JoJo, you went into that conference championship, the number 1 seed, but it didn't quite work out for your team. So I think the folks would like to know a little bit of how you sit there and watch the pairings and the committee place the teams out there. And after going through COVID and after holding your team together and performing like you did and not getting to go to the tournament, how do you handle that? I mean, what are the emotions that are involved in that, especially somebody that's watched these pairings for over 20 years?
Yeah, thank you, Coach Mick. First, I just want to say that this show should be called The Legends, not The Masters, because you guys are the legends. You are the Elvis Presleys of the women's volleyball industry. And the only other time I was as starstruck as I am right now is when I got to see the Pope at the Vatican. So I just want to say a thank you to you for creating, and we stand on your shoulders. So Coach Ruth, Coach Mick, Coach Brian, and Coach Bob, there are no words other than thank you. And I hope we can continue to do what you did in the sport and continue to do. But this show should be called Legends. So, I think it was a challenging year, and everyone's used that word so often, but it was a difficult year for all of us. And you can't really put into words the ups and downs and the type of season that it was. And hats off to all these young ladies that represented all their universities so well. Wearing that mask playing is very difficult. Wearing that mask competing as a coach was a challenge and was not easy and not comfortable. And, especially if you're an emotional, passionate coach and they don't see your smile or, your intention of your words, it can create some communication dynamics. And then when you add that we have a really diverse group of players in New York that play for me. So we had some challenges along the way. But I think the first question is, why not have 64 teams, especially this year? Especially this year, so that was one question that we've all had. And then I've been in the industry for over 20 plus years, and I still don't know all the criteria that goes into the selection committee. So that to me is also about communication and transparency. But I think when we look at the big picture, and I'm kind of a big picture coach, we're grateful that our players stayed healthy for the most part, and grateful that all these girls can still play the sport that they love while others weren't able to do that. But again, Marquette, dynamic team, terrific team. We played they played the number of games that they needed to play. We saw them up close in person, and they were outstanding. And in our mind, they would have been an NCAA team. And our own team, which we did what we had to do. We could only play the teams that we were permitted to play. So we were on a 5-game win streak. We had won our East Coast side of the bracket. And unfortunately, it didn't go our way. But again, hats off to my colleague, Coach Travis, and good luck in the tournament.
Well, thanks, JoJo. I appreciate that. And we'll come back to you because we got several other questions that we want to go after here a little bit. But Travis Hudson, wow, 26th season, 19 straight 20-game wins. 640, get this, Brian and Bob, 642 wins so far. He's still at the same school. I don't know, Brian, he's after your record here a little bit. And the thing that I found interesting was that I believe I'm right on this, Travis, you can correct me if I'm not, but last year you did get a 15th seed with your Western Kentucky team. You guys hosted, and I'll be darned if you didn't draw 4,500 the first night and 5,000 the next night. That's 9,500 people. That's on the same level as Hawaii, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Long Beach, all of those schools that really did the job in promoting the sport. So how can you go this year? And I have some numbers for you. Maybe you don't have these, but I have you should be seated 4th or 5th, believe that or not. And I'll tell you why. Your team scores 18.1 points per set. And you only give up 6.5. Look at Kentucky. They score 1 point more than you, 19.1, and they only give up 6.6. You guys are really in the same game here. You're in a 1-point game as far as scoring points. They get they got my number 1 seed, but the committee gave them a number 2 seed. I could move Minnesota into 4 and move you to 5 easily enough, just because they only score 17, but they only give up 7. You're still probably going to have a good shot at beating them. So I think the numbers say not only should you have gotten a seed this year, but your team was good enough to get a high seed. And after last year's demonstration that not only can you handle the tournament by bringing spectators in, and did you lose in your tournament to Louisville at your place? Is that who you lost to? And then they turned around the next week and beat Texas. And you're in a conference that with Rice and a few other teams, and Rice just beat Texas at Texas last week. I went to that match, and yet you beat Rice pretty well. I won't say handily, but you beat them 3-1, I think, in the conference tournament. So I'll let you talk. Tell us what you're thinking here, why your team's not respected as much, and how you're going to handle it.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. We were the 15th seed last year. We did lose to Louisville. We lost to Louisville in 5 in the second round in our place. So it was a very competitive second round matchup. And then Louisville did go on to beat Texas in the next round. And, we're actually a better team this year than we were then. We return a tremendous amount. We returned like 85% of our offense. We're a veteran team. And, we're improved in certain areas. And so, I know from being in the gym with them every day, we're a better team this year than we were in 2019. But, it's such a unique year in terms of not being able to, why were we not seeded? I don't know. I think there's so much of it that's subjective this year. What knocks can you make against us? I guess the biggest one would be strength of schedule. But trust me, we badgered the SEC and the Big Ten and everyone around us in the Power Fives. But, when the Big Ten's only playing Big Ten matches and the SEC is only playing SEC matches, then it's kind of tough to be judged on your strength of schedule. We found that the Big 12 was looking for matches and actually picked up a match after our season had already begun with West Virginia to get them on our schedule. And then we played who was in front of us, including, like you said, a tremendous Rice team that I think has a chance to play in this NCAA tournament for a while. And 2 weeks after they went 5 with Baylor and then beat Texas at Texas, we were able to beat them in the conference championship and I thought make our case again for the level of play that we're playing at. And but I don't spend a lot of time. I've never spent a lot of time on those things. Tell me who to play, tell me when to play, and we'll spend our time focusing on that while everybody else, complains because, I'm not so sure that playing in the first round won't help in such a unique setting, with so much going on around there and everything being under one roof, and having such a long layoff prior to your first match. I don't know that it won't benefit us in many ways to get out there and hopefully catch a little bit of a rhythm before we end up in that, hopefully end up in that seeded game in the second round against Washington State.
Well, I think the draw you have, the trap match for you is the first night. The trap match for Washington State is their first night, which could be you. And that could propel you into the regionals. And is all volleyball running through Kentucky right now? You look at it and there are 3 Kentucky teams here they're kicking butt, so to speak. How does that happen?
Yeah, well, we've had three teams from the state of Kentucky in the top 20 most of the year, which is just a remarkable feat, obviously. And, there's just so much good volleyball in the Midwest. And, Danny and Craig are both such tremendous coaches that, and then Jamie Gordon has Morehead State in the tournament as well. And so 4 teams at a 48-team field from the state of Kentucky, I think is really something we should all take proud of. And everyone in the Commonwealth of Kentucky should as well.
Hey, Bob, since you speak JoJo's language, you have any questions for JoJo?
Well, actually, I do. Just finishing up with Travis, I had the pleasure of playing against this team a couple of times when I was at Lehigh. And he does have a very athletic team, a very well-coached team, Travis. I think you do a great job there.
Thank you.
I'm still, I can't, like JoJo said, I can't figure out what this committee looks at. When you're 21-0, you should have gotten seeded in the tournament. I can't see how that didn't happen, especially with some of the wins that you had.
Yeah, well, maybe next year we'll try to win 22 out of 21, if that's possible, and see if we can get a little attention. But I don't know. I've always kind of enjoyed the chip on my shoulder, mentality with our group. And this is a group. I know who we have in our gym, and that's what's most important to me. And every step along this journey is going to be a challenging one, and we're just glad to be a part of it and looking forward to playing.
And JoJo, being a fellow New Yorker, you know, it does concern me that the Big East only got one team in the tournament when, I mean, the Big Ten got 6, the Pac-12 got 5. I think the ACC got 4. Big East seems like they should have had more than one team. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, we're disappointed in the selection. We know that this year, was different, but we know if it was 64 teams, Marquette is in, and probably the Johnnies are in. We played who we could play, like I said, they had regional committee, so you would think the regional committee would fight for the region and look at the region well and see these are the teams that they had to play, and they took care of business. But again, I built the program from the ground up here in 1994, so I'm not one for excuses, and we don't point fingers at people. But again, we're going to use it to motivate our group of girls in the gym and get better and get stronger, and hopefully in 2021, the fall, which is right around the corner, the Johnnies will be in it. But Coach Travis, he speaks very quickly, and I think he has a chip on his shoulder, so he might be in New York or somewhere down the line in the
Way
G.
back,
in the
way
G
back.
pack.
I can assure you, I'm a Kentuckian born and bred. I'm about as far. I've been to New York, but I stood in the middle of the street and just looked up in the air at all the buildings it was a wonderful trip, actually.
Well, JoJo, I'm sure Brian has a couple of questions for you and Travis both, so I'm going to kick it over to him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Kathy DeBoer did a great job in getting us to have a championship this year, because there was a chance that we didn't even have a season. And she had to negotiate, I'm sure, for the 48 teams. But I wish the NCAA, after they saw that basketball could do it, that they made a change. There's so many people could have hosted it, including Nebraska, to add the rest of the teams. But it would have been fair for the sport to get 64. So I agree with you, because it's tough to be left out. And and by the way, the Pope is the only one that's older than this group.
Amen.
So we still have time.
We do.
But Travis, with you, I have a different formula than Mick has, but I also had you 4th, seated in the tournament. I do a hitting percentage for and opponent's hitting percentage, and the gap in between them is what I go by. Now, you led the nation in that. The problem was, the strength of schedule. My opinion is this year, the NCAA the committee played it really safe. And you could almost tell everybody who was going to be in the tournament. You could almost name the 16 seeds, but it's really difficult not to be a seeded team. Your road is really tougher because you got to play the next night if you get by the first night. So tell me your road. We'll talk about the road you see. And I heard you say the next team in front of you, but tell me what you think about the path you have.
Yeah, well, we're playing a Jackson State team who is also undefeated in the first round. And so, you're talking about 2 teams that have not tasted defeat at all in that first round match. And so they come into that match expecting to win, just like Western Kentucky does. And, but should we advance there? I mean, when you look at the path, I try not to look too deep into it. I lose sleep when I do. You're talking about a Washington State team who, we actually played here in our building about 3 years ago. And I mean, as you guys know, they're always one of the most physical teams in the country. And, and that's something that will be, like nothing we've seen in our league in terms of physicality. And that'll be the challenge. And, but we lost in 4 to them here a few years ago in a year that we didn't make the NCAA tournament. And so I think that will be valuable for both teams, having played that, just both coaching staffs, just understanding each other's system a little bit. And then, I don't want to project too far down the line, but it sure would be fun, if we can find our way through Washington State to potentially match up with Kentucky again. And, Kentucky's a team that we had an epic 5-set match to go to the Sweet 16 with a couple years back. We lost in 5 in Lexington with a Sweet 16 on the line. And, but look, Craig Skinner is a great friend of mine. And I think I truly believe they're a national championship contender. I think they have all the pieces that it takes, and they have experience. They've been there. They're big, they're physical, they can handle the ball. I truly believe they have all the pieces. And so that would be a massive challenge if we get there. But, the familiarity, we play each other every year as our exhibition match, at the beginning of the year. So we're familiar with each other. And I think that's something that would benefit us well. We've been in the gym with those kids, and we know that we can play. And so, we'll see, one step at a time. And I guess before we do any of that, we got to pass a whole bunch of COVID tests.
Yeah.
We'll try to do that first before we get into the actual volleyball.
Yeah. And JoJo, give me your picks. You've been coaching for so long. Well, give me your picks. Put yourself on the line here.
Listen, I'm going with Coach Travis, definitely in the Sweet 16. He's going to do it this year. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's strong. He's talking fast. He can back it up. I like him, so I'm going with Coach Travis. But obviously Wisconsin's a favorite. I think it might be their turn, I'm hoping that there's a big upset along the way, because I'm all for the underdog.
Let's go to Ruth. Ruth, you ready for the hard questions?
Oh, the hard questions. I've been having to do all the spotlighting today with all the graphics and everything. You guys have really been testing me today. Well,
Yeah.
I was interested in JoJo's picks for all of them, not just for Travis. We know Travis wants to be in the Final Four, which by the numbers, if you're like Mick Haley, by the numbers. Okay, JoJo, here you go. Here's in the first bracket. Who's going to be in that semis?
I'm
What you
going.
want?
I'm going Wisconsin.
Okay, how about, okay, here we go. You got to go Western Kentucky.
going
We're going to mute you otherwise.
Listen,
I'm going Western Kentucky. Yeah, I'm not muted, right? Am I okay? Can you hear me?
Western Kentucky, we need to bring all of you guys out to Omaha to sit on a bench with me to make that happen.
Okay, here's your next one.
We can steer you wrong.
Brian's formula.
Okay, JoJo, here you go.
Okay. I'm going Georgia Tech.
Okay, Georgia Tech. Okay, here you go.
I'm going to go with Rice.
All right.
Oh, the first
all
round.
right.
All the way
Okay.
through?
I'm doing the first rounds, right?
Oh, no, you're doing the end.
All the
Semi.
way.
Oh, the
Semis.
semis? Oh, okay. So I'm going to go with Western Kentucky.
Okay, right, we got that one.
Okay. And then I'll go with
Who do you have here?
Wisconsin, if they're Wisconsin.
Okay, we got Wisconsin. All right, we're now
Okay.
into the fourth seed.
I'll go Texas,
Okay. Here you go.
and I'm going to go Baylor.
All
Can I do
right,
that?
here you go.
Just to interrupt a second. So Travis, that's where I would have had Western Kentucky, right there where Nebraska is.
Me too.
Then
Okay.
maybe all the Nebraska fans would have cheered for us while we were there.
Yeah.
Or not. Yeah.
Don't
Okay,
count on that
JoJo,
one.
you got three more, JoJo.
3 more. Where are we now? Give me the next two.
Right now, you got Washington bracket, semis. Who do you have?
I'm going to go with Dayton,
Okay,
Louisville.
all right. Who do you have here?
I'm going to go with Mick's former assistant, UCF, right? He used to work with you. So he has all the formulas too. He has all the formulas, Coach Todd.
He called me at 10 o'clock at night the other night. He was
I'm sure he did.
woke me up.
Okay, so you're picking UCF all the way to the semis?
Yes.
All right, and last one,
What do you see on your screen? Missouri,
you
South.
got Florida, Ohio State seeded, and you got Missouri, South Dakota, Moorhead, and Creighton.
Okay, I'm going to go with my own Creighton. I'm going to go with the Big East.
All
Okay,
right.
all right.
Well, there's
All right.
definitely some upsets there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I filled out my bracket now. Now I
Okay.
feel comfortable.
I filled out mine too, and I'm getting ready. And Mick, we're back to you for final thank yous.
Well, guys, thanks. Thanks for being on the show. And it is thank yous, but not final. We'd love to have both of you back again because this has certainly been enjoyable, and I hope people are paying attention to your programs. I hope they're paying attention to your conferences also. And one of the questions I was going to ask that we don't have time with, but I was going to ask you what each of you are doing in your conference to gain more notoriety, because both of your conferences have been beating people outside of your conference and doesn't seem to be getting as much attention, and it should help the other teams in your conference. So we maybe bring that back for another show, but thanks.
We have time, Mick. We got time for you're not gonna believe it. We still got 2 minutes left.
Whoa, you're going to give me another question?
I know, yes. I mean, this may be dangerous, you two.
Well, very quickly then, let's just ask both coaches, are there any discussions in the conference going on how you can promote your conferences more and take on more of those Power 5 conference teams that are getting in the tournament?
Yeah, Mick, we're doing a lot of things. We have a lot of conversations about scheduling. Obviously, scheduling intelligently is a huge part of that. And then doing, every time I talk about Western Kentucky, I try to talk about Conference USA because, we have the spotlight on us right now, and we need to, be that voice that helps people understand that there's some really good coaching and some really good volleyball going on in our league. And we have some coaches that I think do a great job. Obviously, Jenny's built a great program at Rice. I think Karen Weatherington at Charlotte is one of the great voices in this game. She's on our regional committee and does a great job champion for our league. And so, we got to beat people, as you know. We got to continue to go out, and Rice and Western Kentucky, who are now at the top of the league for this year, we know how quickly that can all change. We have to go represent this league well, and that's something that we carry on our shoulders when we go into these kind of tournaments.
JoJo, anybody doing anything in your conference there?
Yeah, I think, as a coaches group, Sharon Clark is the president of the AVCA. So we have a strong voice in Sharon, and we're always, brainstorming and networking, but we do need to have a good product to put out there. I think our numbers have been improving in terms of fans in the gym. And when I went to Syracuse as an undergrad in Newhouse Communications, the slogan was, if it wasn't on TV, it didn't happen. So we've got to get our program on television, our league on TV. And I think that's going to, once people see the product in the Big East, they're going to really be so excited about coming to a match and supporting those young ladies and getting to know them and really having, when you're a little girl, having something to look forward to. Which is how I got into this. So.
All right.
Wonderful. Well, again,
can I add something there for you two? I don't think the RPI is going to be back next year for rating teams. And you both are in conferences with the lowest teams in your conference with a bad RPI. And I think the NCAA has to change the RPI so that if you have a mandatory match, a conference match, it should not hurt your RPI if you win. I think they should not be counted if you win. If you lose, that should be counted. But if you can beat a team 3-0 that is a lower ranked RPI team within your conference, because you have to, that should be discounted in your RPI total, because the conferences, like both of your conferences at this point, will lose out to the traditional conferences.
Right.
I just think that should change.
Great point, Brian. Great point, Coach Brian.
Okay, guys, we are out of time. You know how this goes.
Hey,
Sorry
Ruth,
about that.
we heard it first here on Master Coaches. Brian has come up with something for the committee to use, and it's first time out here on Master Coaches.
That's right.
All right. Book your Master Coaches custom virtual clinic today by heading over to our Instagram. Click on the bio and click on virtual clinic link. If you are looking for a fantastic one-day in-person clinic near Abilene, Texas, join us June 5th by registering on www.abileneysa.org. That's Abilene Youth Sports Authority. Remember, our weekly buzz shows you'll find on our YouTube channel. Go directly to Instagram or Twitter, VB Master Coaches. A special shout out to our partners, SNA Sports and Baden Sports, and thanks to our content providers, NFHS, JVA, Coaches Insider, and AVCA. Now, let's go to our Buzz and Buzz Reaction digital partner, Dr. John Foreman, who will update us on his podcast.
Thanks, Ruth. Thanks, Travis. Thanks, JoJo. Great having you. On the podcast, the most recent one that's out right now, you can find on coachingvb.com, was with Will Foley from Volleyball League of America, talking about marketing that league. So kind of along some of the lines we were just discussing here about how getting more attention and raising profile. Coming up on Sunday's release, I'll have a discussion with Mark Lebedew on what it takes for players to go from not just being good, but being great. But before we transition to Buzz Reaction, I have to give a massive shout out to Medaille College Bowling, who just beat
Okay.
Nebraska in the first round of the NCAA. So,
All
Ah,
right.
and they have a volleyball player on the team. So,
Okay, here we
there's the
go,
link.
John.
all right, go.
Thanks for joining our Buzz Reaction today and our featured guest that will come on in the last 15 minutes as part of our Wanna Be a Guest program, which we'll introduce him later in the show. Now, let's hear from Master Coaches as they continue their conversation on today's Buzz Show. All right, guys.
so what you guys think? What you guys think about all the wins and losses? Both those coaches have been at their schools more than 25 years. They're kicking butt and they're getting all kinds of good success, and yet you don't hear about them anywhere hardly. I think we're missing the boat just focusing on the top 20 or 30 teams.
Well, I'd agree with that, Mick. I mean, I've seen both those teams play. I played against both those teams, and both those coaches, they're very good as anybody, in the country. Travis has just a really physical team that just executes real well. I've seen him a couple of years now, and I would kind of agree with you. I think maybe Brian hit on something that's important for us to kind of look at, and that's with that RPI and how that works against you a little bit if you're not in a league that's strong from top to bottom like a Big Ten.
I think he's right about that. I also think another aspect is the placement of the teams. This year we were in a bubble. We're playing all in one spot. So why are the Kentucky teams playing against each other before the finals of the regionals? I mean, there's 4 Kentucky teams. They're in the tournament. It seems like you could put them in 4 different divisions. So if they did move forward, for instance, if Travis moves forward and he gets to the 3rd round, he's going to have to play Kentucky. And it would be okay if he got to the 4th round and had to play Kentucky. But in watching, one of the things that's been the major criticism of the players, for instance, if you're at Texas State and you get into the tournament, over the last 5 to 7 years, though that team or that winner has had to play either Texas or Baylor in the 1st round. So they don't even look forward to going to the tournament as much as they look forward to winning their conference championship. And that's wrong. You should really be excited to go to the tournament. You should get to see new and different teams, and the regionalization of the 1st and 2nd rounds, I thought we got away from this year because we had everybody in Omaha. But as it turns out, there are teams from the same location playing each other earlier than I thought necessary.
I agree. I think, Mick, this year, I agree with you. This is a chance to really for the committee to look at the past and start to look and say, hey, this is our one chance to really seed the teams and take advantage of the pitfalls of geography that has happened over all the years. They could have really spread out this team. I think they should be split up. I mean, how many times have they had to play each other? And it's a chance this year that they wouldn't have to. And
Yeah.
that is it's a really tough bracket they're in.
It's also interesting that, for instance, if Pepperdine wins the 1st round, they have to turn right around and play Baylor, who just 3 weeks ago, they went all the way from Los Angeles to Waco, Texas to play Baylor, lost 3-2, and now they have to turn around and play them in the second round if they win the first round. So that's another thing that's not friendly to the student athletes as much. But maybe it's okay because it's at a neutral site. I don't know.
I think the NCAA committee is going to prove themselves right because it's so difficult to come out of one round and play the very next night. You know, they're playing the 14th, then turn around and play the 15th. And the team they're playing gets to scout them live. So they get to watch them live. They're the 15th opponent.
The first round, yeah.
Yeah, they get to watch the first round. And the first round people, the winner doesn't get to see their opponent at all live. And they play back-to-back nights. I think the seeded teams have more advantage than ever. I think almost every one of them will win.
You know, Bob maybe can speak to this, but that doesn't necessarily hold true in the NCAA men's competition because they have play-ins. And when they have to play in the first night, the third place seed in each bracket has to play somebody who's already played a match. And those have been hair-raising because those third place teams should win that play-in, and yet they've had to go to 4 or 5 sets just to get back into the tournament, so to speak.
Yeah, well, Travis talked about that a little bit. The advantage of playing that play-in game. I mean, that's the only way you can look at it at this point in time. Is that you use that as not necessarily a warm-up game, but it's a game to kind of get into your flow. But eventually, like Brian said, you're going to hit some level of fatigue. That's going to start to be a factor. But I think that's why with the men, some of those teams that have played that playing game, are kind of hitting that first round, in stride when the other team is coming out cold. And if they don't get started, it usually takes them, 4 or 5 games to win that match.
I'm going to be devil's advocate. I'm going to take the other side of that Brian just said. He thinks all the seeded teams are going to win. I'm going to say there's going to be more upsets than we've ever had before in the first 2 or 3 rounds. So just
you and JoJo got that.
Yeah, I don't even have an Eastern accent. Come on.
Hey, listen, if Travis comes up with $200,000 in guarantees, then he'll be able to pay to bring in those people with RPIs that are high.
Yeah.
Well, and if he can draw fans at 4,500 to 5,000 a night, you guys, why wouldn't you want, if you're the NC2A, why wouldn't you want that team to get a draw and to be hosting over the years? Last year, that had to be one of the best first and second round draws in the whole tournament.
Yeah.
You get a good question, Brian, on that?
No, I think we need to look at the bracket so we can embarrass ourselves. I want to look at all the brackets so we can make our
just
picks.
took the other side so I could get.
I thought, yeah, well, we'll see.
All right, there you go, Brian.
Okay, what do you guys got here?
Well, I think BYU UCLA could be a flip of the coin. UCLA could come out of there. Their numbers are actually pretty good. They're not going to beat Wisconsin though.
I agree. That BYU UCLA game should be very interesting, but the Wisconsin's going to come out. I agree.
Okay, we go into second seed.
Bob, you got to.
I would probably be going the same way. Wisconsin definitely moving forward. Mixed right. Possibly UCLA could upset BYU just based on, maybe who they've been playing day in and day out. But that looks like it's going to move forward as set up.
I'm going to call one upset.
Okay, come on now. We can't get through all of this in time.
Watch out for Bowling Green upsetting Wisconsin in the second round. Bowling Green's exceptionally good MAC conference team. Nobody thinks they're going to win. Watch out.
Okay, here's second seed bracket.
I see Kentucky coming out, the highest seed.
I see Western Kentucky in the playing each other.
Yeah, that would be my call.
That'd be
All
my
right.
call too.
Boy, that was the easy bracket. Okay, let's go to the next one.
It's the toughest bracket, I think.
No, it was easy because it was short in my minutes.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Well, let's talk about this bracket because this might be the toughest bracket. Who you got? Who have you got between Lipscomb and Georgia Tech? Because that's a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
Well, after Minnesota, it's not going to make any difference. So, you know, it's a good win for one of them.
Well, if they have a Donnybrook and whoever comes out of there plays Minnesota and Minnesota's coming in there cold, that's another watch out for an upset.
Yep.
And
Okay,
I think the other side of that is Pittsburgh could beat Utah. Pittsburgh hasn't lost this spring. All 4 of their losses came last fall when they were messing around, and they're on a terror right now.
I
okay.
agree. That could be an upset, but Minnesota's coming out.
All right, next bracket. We've got Texas.
I think you could see Rice in Texas again.
Yeah, I think the Rice-Penn State matchup is going to be interesting.
Well, I think that is going to be very interesting, but I'm gonna bet on my buddy Russ to.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Certainly-
You didn't
certainly-
bet on him when you were at Temple and beat him.
I think
Well,
you're.
I had a bet on myself then.
Okay, so I want a rematch.
Texas is coming out of there.
Hey, wait, I
but I
want a
like
rematch
Penn
with
State.
Penn State and Texas playing.
Well, if Penn State plays Texas, then watch out for Penn State upsetting Texas.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, next bracket. We got Nebraska.
Yeah, I see Nebraska. I mean, they're basically playing at home, going all the way through there.
Yeah, we have to have them win. They're hosting. Yeah.
So, yeah, well, we maybe do, but here's I'm really going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say that Texas State is going to upset Nebraska and they're going to play Pepperdine.
Wow, okay.
Well, that is
Funny,
that's
Mick,
gonna be interesting. All right. Well, he's going to be in the money if he makes that
so
one. work.
you got Texas State and Pepperdine playing each other?
I do.
Oh, I like that, Mick.
Okay, come on, we got.
Let's bet dinner on that one. I need a free meal.
Okay, here we go, Washington.
Well, here's what the numbers say. The numbers say that Dayton could upset Washington. The numbers also say that Washington is huge and they could slow down Louisville's scoring. So that's really a flip of a coin. According to the seeding, Washington's supposed to win, but Louisville has time tested in the tournament and they're coming to play and they score 18.8 points per set. They just give up too many. So I think I go with Washington because I think blocking will be a big factor in that match.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm with Washington too. I'm hoping that all these teams stay healthy. I'm starting to, an upset could happen when some team loses a few players.
Well, that's right. I mean, it could turn out to be completely skewed if a player loses their top player because of COVID the day before the tournament or as the tournament's going on. Yeah.
Okay, here we go,
That's-
Purdue.
yeah, you guys are going to use that excuse for Texas State playing Pittsburgh?
Okay, come on, here we go, Purdue, 7.
Oh, Ruth, you're taking all the fun out of this.
No, I know, but I know we do
She's
not
got the
want to,
timer.
I know
She's got
how
the
you
timer.
guys are.
All right. I'm going with
I
Oregon.
should have never produced these brackets.
I'm going with Oregon all the way through.
I'm going Purdue against Notre Dame in the and Purdue winning.
There you
Okay.
go. Bob,
Here
you
we go,
got
Florida.
I'm trying to stay on time, so I'm letting her just kind of zip
Oh, all
through
right.
this
Oh,
thing.
yeah, you're right. Since when do you ever help me out? Seriously. Okay, 1 minute, you guys.
Well, Mick, I'm waiting for you to pick
Well, big problem. JoJo's team, Creighton, is playing Travis's team, Morehead State, or Travis is from Morehead State from Kentucky. So that's a big deal. But Florida scores the ball. They just don't always show up. So if we get to a Florida-Minnesota game, Florida and whoever else was up there, Florida could win that. But but they're up and down. It's going to be
Purdue, Florida, Purdue possible,
Yeah.
right? No?
Okay.
Ohio
State,
State,
yeah.
probably the better team, but Florida's got huge power.
So what are we
Okay.
looking at? What do we got? Last one here.
No, that's it.
Okay.
All right, we are done. You guys could go on for another hour. Let's bring in our guest today to join in our new format, which allows our guest to be on the Buzz Reaction Show for 10 minutes after Master Coach's conversation. Our show usually allows guests to ask Master Coaches questions, but today our guest will have the opportunity to provide us critical information on the D2 event in Dallas, Texas, beginning next week. Our guest today is Chuck Waddington, head women's coach at Angelo State for the past 13 years. Some of his program highlights include 9 straight NCAA South Central Regional Tournament appearances, won 3 regular Lone Star Conference titles, 3 Lone Star Conference Tournament championships, and most recently winning the Spring 2021 LSC Volleyball Championship. Today, however, he will provide us the latest information on the AVCA D2 National Championship presented by United States Marine Corps. Welcome, Chuck.
Hey,
Thank you.
Chuck.
Appreciate
Hey,
it.
Chuck.
Chuck, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Yes.
Chuck.
Absolutely.
Before you provide us your D2 update, we would love to know what you think about our Master Coaches Weekly Buzz Show.
You know, I could sit and listen to you guys talk all day long, especially, you know, when you talk about the brackets. You know, there's lots of interesting conversations going on there and a lot of little inside jokes that nobody really probably knows about. So it's pretty fun.
Okay, so we're really anxious and ready to hear your updates, but have you enjoyed our Master Coaches Weekly Buzz Show?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen all of them, but I do enjoy it when I get the chance. You know, it's always good to hear from people that I respect and know that are legends in the sport. So it's a great opportunity for a lot of coaches to kind of just listen and just soak it in.
Okay,
We're
so
going
when
to try
you're,
to start talking about Angelo State, so you'll have to listen in now. We're going to sneak it in every so often.
Heck yeah.
okay, so we're anxious and ready to hear the updates for your upcoming event, Chuck.
Absolutely. So in the summer, when Division II canceled the fall sports championships for volleyball, football, soccer, everything that was fall sports, you know, we were pretty upset, but instead of kind of playing the victim, we decided to do something about it. And I reached out to Kathy at the AVCA. I'm the D2 rep on the board of directors, and so that was a pretty easy call. And I approached her about, you know, considering helping put together a championship like they do for the beach championships. You know, it's a whoever can come type of scenario, and you know, and so she kind of started the ball rolling, and we also I'm connected to Glenn Litsky a little bit and his wife Kathy with Austin Juniors, and I reached out to them for some help, and knowing that Dallas, you know, hosts the Lone Star qualifier, which is one of the biggest qualifiers in the country. But there's downtime between the 2 weekends, and we were looking for court space, and that was already set up. And I have to say that both Kathy and Glenn have been just unbelievable in this process to try to put this together. They are all about the sport and giving back. And, you know, fortunately we came up with a solution, and, you know, we're hosting this tournament next week. It starts on the 14th. The dates are the 14th through the 17th in Dallas at the Convention Center. Once the second weekend of the qualifier starts, we move into the arena, which is at the end of the convention center. And so, you know, it's going to be a good field. There's a lot of high quality teams coming in, and a lot of teams that are looking for some exposure. And what better opportunity than to play in front of some of the best, you know, juniors players in the country that come to this qualifier.
In the number of teams and how they were selected into the tournament?
Well, there wasn't a selection process. It's very similar to the beach national championship, the small school beach national championships that the AVCA put on. If you want to come, you can come. You pay an entry fee and you get to come. And not everybody has the opportunity to come. Some you know, conferences aren't even playing, you know, but it's an opportunity to kind of play some great teams. And you know what it did mostly is it gave kids across the country something to play for, an opportunity to compete for a championship when ours was taken away. You know, I listened to the Division I folks talk about, well, they're upset that there's only 48 teams playing. Well, we have 0 playing. So you have to appreciate what you have. And I definitely appreciate the work of the AVCA and Glenn and Kathy putting this together. So we have something to play for, you know.
Okay, so Mick, and you guys, I know you have a question for
Well,
me.
I got a comment.
I want to know if Chuck is wearing a MasterCoaches face mask. I see.
It looks like it.
Send me one. I have a.
Oh,
Angelo State
yeah, he's got a
volleyball
gator
one,
on.
so the rest of the house,
Okay,
What-
Bob
what
is
do you-
chomping at the bit.
Well,
Well,
I think it's great that the AVCA stepped up and gave Division II a championship. I'm kind of
Yeah.
disappointed that the NCAA, didn't make something happen. Maybe they're not going to do it at the same level they did it before, but just to bail out on it. We're just lucky we have an association that is going to step up and make these events happen for the whole membership.
Yeah, 100%. As you know, we're Division II is dependent on the NCAA basketball tournament, the Division I tournament. And without it happening last year, they were looking for ways to cut things, and we were unfortunate that we got cut, but we didn't sit back on our heels. We were proactive about it and did something to give our kids something to play for. So again, AVCA and Austin Juniors, they were huge in this process.
Chuck, I want to say that thank you for doing it. I mean, it's nice of you to, it's nice of the AVCA and Austin Juniors and all that, but if you didn't do this, it wouldn't happen. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate
And,
that.
Is that
Yeah.
true that Flow Volleyball is filming it live?
That's what I'm being told.
That's fantastic.
Who are the teams to watch? Who are
Well,
the teams that are coming?
in alphabetical
to-
order, I would say Angelo State. There's a lot of good teams. Tampa's going to be there. Hillsdale, who's top 5 in the country right now. Ashland is coming. There's a bunch of top 25 teams that are going to be there. There are some teams that aren't ranked as well, but I think the top 5 or 6 or 7 teams that are coming are all legit, and it should be a fun week.
So, hey, Chuck, so a little history. 1981. Division I, AIW, Division II, AIW, Division III, AIW were all won by Texas teams. University of Texas won one. School in Georgetown, Southwestern won 2 or 3, and Glada Munt's team over in Seguin won the other one.
Hey, and Susan Duke at Texas Lutheran in small college,
Glada Munt, Susan,
AIW.
yeah, Susan Duke, yes. And they had the Flackmeyers all playing. All 3 Flackmeyers were playing on that team.
Yeah, it's no secret that Texas has had great volleyball for a long, long time. And, all these other schools come into Texas to recruit, and I wish they wouldn't, but they do. And, we're fighting them off all the time.
Hey, but you have an advantage. You're playing in Dallas, in your home state.
Yeah.
So there should be no excuse next year to have the #1 recruiting class in the country.
Well, since the Division I can't get out and recruit, we're going to take advantage of that as well.
Yes.
I know they hate to hear that, and I feel bad that they can't recruit, but I don't quite feel that bad. Kids are still committing to Division I, so somehow they're getting it done. So,
Well, that's fantastic. Do you have anything else you might like to share about the tournament? I mean, we know it's on Flow Volleyball. Are they doing anything with social media?
there will be spectators allowed. You can
Okay.
buy tickets to come watch it. The teams that are there, if they want to come watch the semis and the finals on Friday and Saturday, they can buy a ticket to come and get in.
Okay.
It's just it's going to be a fun event, and it's going to be some great volleyball and kind of maybe get some exposure to a level that doesn't always get its proper due. There's some great players at the Division II level, and a lot of teams that can compete probably at the mid-major or even better Division I level. So I'm excited that we get to showcase ourselves a little bit, and looking forward to the competition.
So Chuck, this is sandwiched right in between the 2 weekends.
Yeah.
So you might get some juniors coming in, a little bit early or staying a little bit late to watch this competition. So it could be a great recruiting tool for you guys.
100%. And that was one of the selling points for the teams coming in, is that a lot of you are coming to Dallas to recruit this event anyway. Why not bring your team and compete and finish off your season that way? So I hope that we do. I hope we get a lot of people that come to watch. I hope we get a lot of kids that come, to watch the competition, because it should be great.
So how many teams from your conference are actually participating besides you?
There'll be, besides us, there'll be 4 other teams from our conference.
Wow. That's fantastic. That's great for your conference for next year.
100%.
That's fantastic.
So
All
if
right,
you
guys
buy,
have go
if
ahead.
you buy a ticket, and go watch you guys play, does that ticket get you into the junior competition also?
That is a question I don't know because we're
Now,
not
you
at the
know
same
Glenn
time.
Linsky. Yeah, that's two separate tickets. Come on.
Oh, I'm giving Glenn a chance here. I'm giving Glenn a chance
Give
to.
him a call. I'm sure he'll find a way to get you in.
Okay, Chuck, we have one last question for you.
Sure.
Would you, in a few words, give our viewers why we should all be lifelong learners?
Well, I think that's a good question. I think, as coaches, we ask our players to continue to develop all the time. And we'd be crazy not to ask that of ourselves, and if you think you know it all, you're probably about done with coaching, and you're constantly need to develop, and just not only to be better for yourself, but to be better for your players and better for your programs, whatever level you coach at, whether it's high school, middle school, club, college, international. There's always room to grow. And I think this is a sport unlike any other where the sharing that goes on between coaches is unbelievable. The fact that I can sit here in front of some just legends of the game and pick their brain if I want to. It doesn't happen in every sport, especially the ones that are on TV, So I hope that this continues. And I think that personal growth is really important.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, our time is up. And thanks, Chuck, for joining us on today's Buzz Reaction.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Chuck.
you having me. Absolutely.
We
Thanks,
wish
Chuck.
you-
Thanks for doing this for everyone.
Thanks for doing this.
We wish you great success as you move safely into the final planning for the 2021 AVCA D2 National Championships next week, and best of luck for your team competing in this event. We're
Thanks.
excited to know that coaches still want to be lifelong learners. Book your MasterCoaches custom virtual clinic today by heading over to our Instagram, click on our bio, and click on our virtual clinic link. If you're looking for a fantastic one-day in-person clinic, guess where, Chuck? Near Abilene, Texas. Join us June 5th by registering at AbileneYSA.org. That's Abilene Youth Sports Authority. For those viewers that want to be on our Buzz Reaction guest list, jump over to our VB Master Coaches Instagram, go to the bio and click on the sign up to be a guest list. For those coaches that are interested in our consulting services, please email from our link on our VB Master Coaches Instagram. Be sure to tell your friends about our weekly Buzz. And thanks for joining today, and see you next week on the Buzz.